The stars beyond Vega 9 were not kind, not warm, not welcoming. They did not twinkle like the skies of Earth. Out here, at the very edge of the Perseus expanse, they were hard and cold, like scattered shards of glass suspended in infinite black. Commander Jack Reynolds stood at the observation deck of the outpost, arms folded, boots planted firmly on the grated floor as the faint hum of the station's artificial gravity thrummed through the metal beneath his feet. The air was still, almost too still. Out here, nothing moved that didn't choose to move. And yet, tonight, something moved. Jack couldn't shake it, that primal soldier's instinct that had kept him alive during half a dozen border wars. The kind of instinct that whispered before radar ever pinged, before alarms ever sounded. The silence of the stars felt wrong. The deck doors hissed open behind him. The faint sound of footsteps broke the near-sacred quiet. "Sir," came a voice, calm but tight. Jack turned. Lieutenant Sarah Monroe stood in the doorway, tablet in hand, her blonde hair pulled back in a regulation bun. She wasn't rattled easily. He'd chosen her for this assignment precisely because she didn't spook at shadows, but there was tension in her shoulders now. "We picked up another signal," she said. Jack's brows drew together. The first one had been written off as static, some rogue transmission bouncing through deep space. The second had been harder to ignore, too patterned, too deliberate. "And," he asked, voice level. "Same as before." "Encrypted." "Untranslatable." Sarah hesitated, then added, "But closer this time." Jack turned fully toward her now, every inch of his frame radiating attention. "Show me." She stepped forward, bringing the data up on the wall hollow. A three-dimensional star map shimmered into existence, bathing the observation deck in ghostly blue light. At the very edge of mapped space, a faint pulsing red marker blinked like a lonely heartbeat. Jack stared at it, feeling that cold weight in his gut grow heavier. "Trajectory?" "Outward," Sarah said. "Moving away from the core." And, deliberately slow, almost as if it doesn't want to be noticed, Jack finished for her. The silence stretched. He could feel Sarah watching him, waiting for his reaction. Jack exhaled sharply through his nose and tapped the comb clip to his chest. "Wake Dr. Elena Vasquez. I want her on this, now." Dr. Elena Vasquez arrived minutes later, looking more awake than she had any right to be after being pulled from sleep. She was dressed simply standard station jumpsuit, dark hair hastily tied back, but there was a restless energy in her movement, the kind Jack had seen in people who lived for discovery. "You said it's repeating?" she asked, her voice carrying a mixture of curiosity and urgency. Jack gestured to the projection. "We can't make sense of it. It's not any known language on record." Elena's eyes lit up, and she moved closer to the hollow, her fingers cutting through the air as she manipulated the waveform. The alien signal uncoiled and spiraled into patterns, a language of pulses and tones that to most would look like meaningless noise, but to Elena, it was a puzzle begging to be solved. "It's structured," she murmured. "Not random. Not a distress call, either. There's symmetry in the pulse intervals. Look here." Sarah folded her arms, skeptical. "You're telling me this is, what? Someone talking?" Elena nodded absently, still working. "Not talking. Warning." Jack's eyes narrowed. "Warning about what?" Elena finally turned from the display, her expression caught somewhere between excitement and dread. "I don't know yet. But whoever sent this didn't want it translated quickly. It's meant to keep people away." "From what?" Sarah asked. Elena hesitated before answering. "From whatever lies out there." Jack studied the pulsing marker again. Empty space, far from any colony, any trade route. No reason for anyone to care. And yet someone had cared enough to place a warning there. Jack straightened. Decision came easy to him, too easy, Sarah sometimes said, but it had kept him alive for 20 years. "Prep the Resolute," he said. Sarah blinked. "Sir, that's beyond our authorized patrol sector." "The Council." "The Council doesn't even remember Vega 9 exists," Jack cut her off. "Whatever's out there, I want to see it before anyone else does." Sarah pressed her lips together but didn't argue further. She trusted him, and he didn't make calls like this lightly. Elena glanced back at the pulsing signal, her hands curling into fists at her sides. Her voice dropped almost to a whisper, as if afraid of being overheard by the stars themselves. "This isn't just a warning," she murmured. "It's a gate." Jack caught the words but didn't comment. "Not yet." The station roared to life with sudden purpose. Crew hurried through narrow corridors, systems powered up one by one. In the hangar, the resolute Aline, black-hulled corvette bristling with hidden weaponry, waited like a predator about to be unleashed. Jack stood at the base of the boarding ramp, his helmet tucked under one arm, watching his crew scramble aboard. Sarah passed by him, datapad in hand, her expression tight but resolute. "You really think this is worth risking the ship?" she asked quietly. Jack's gaze was fixed on the ship, his jaw set. "I think not knowing what's out there is the bigger risk." Sarah nodded once and moved past him. Elena arrived next, carrying her equipment case. She paused at the bottom of the ramp and looked up at the looming corvette, her heart hammering. She had joined the Vega 9 posting to study forgotten star systems and quiet anomalies, not to go chasing mysterious warnings into uncharted voids. And yet some part of her, the part that had spent her life digging through ruins of long-dead civilizations, was electric with anticipation. She looked up at Jack as he climbed aboard. "If we do this," she said, "there's no guarantee we'll like what we find." Jack's mouth curved in the barest hint of a smile. "There never is." Minutes later, the Resolute tore free of the station's docking clamps and slipped into the abyss. From the bridge, the Perseus expanse stretched out before them like a yawning maw, speckled with distant, lonely stars. No beacon buoys. No trade lanes. No one to hear them if something went wrong. Jack settled into the captain's chair, the weight of command pressing down like it always did before a mission. Sarah stood at her console, running last-minute diagnostics, while Elena sat at the science station, her eyes fixed on the signal as it pulsed faintly in the dark. There was a stillness to the moment, a kind of fragile calm. The stars seemed to hold their breath. And somewhere, far beyond human reach, something stirred. The Resolute cut through the void like a blade, its dark hull drinking in starlight as it hurtled toward the coordinates. The hum of the engines was the only sound on the bridge, low and steady, like a war drum that hadn't yet begun to beat. Commander Jack Reynolds sat in the captain's chair, jaw tight, his eyes fixed on the forward viewport. The signal pulsed faintly on the display, closer now, steady, patient, almost daring them to find it. "ETA to source?" Jack asked, his voice calm but clipped. 3 minutes, Lieutenant Sarah Monroe replied from the helm, fingers dancing over the controls. Jack's hand tightened on the armrest. 3 minutes until they knew if this was nothing, or if they just crossed a line they could never uncross. Behind him, Dr. Elena Vesquez sat at the science console, her face lit by the eerie blue glow of the holographic displays. She hadn't looked away from the signal since they launched. "It's stronger here," she said softly, almost to herself. "Cleaner. Like we're getting closer to the transmitter." "Any progress on deciphering it?" Jack asked. Elena shook her head, frustration flashing in her dark eyes. "It's too layered. Whoever built this didn't just want it hard to read, they wanted it almost impossible. But the pattern is unmistakable. It's not just a warning. It's guiding us." Jack glanced at her. "Guiding us where?" Elena hesitated, staring at the pulsing marker. "To something someone didn't want found." "Contact," Sarah said suddenly, her voice sharp. Jack's gaze snapped forward. The starfield ahead rippled like heat over asphalt, and then it was there. A structure so immense it seemed to dwarf their ship, suspended in the black like the skeletal remains of some ancient god. It was a ring, shattered in places, jagged edges silhouetted against the stars. Segments of alien stone and metal floated in perfect orbit, as if held together by a will older than physics. At its center was a thing that wasn't space, not really. It shimmered, fluid and black, like a hole cut through reality and stitched together with light. The bridge was silent. "My God," Sarah breathed. "What is that?" Elena stood slowly, her voice trembling with awe. "A threshold. At least, that's what the old archives called them. I've seen fragments, broken pieces, but nothing like this. This one is intact, Jack said, his voice low. The Resolute sensors screamed with data. Radiation spikes. Exotic energy signatures. Power readings higher than any known Starship reactor. No life signs, Sarah reported, her tone unnerved. No active transmissions either. Just that thing. Jack rose from the chair, taking a step toward the viewport as if proximity could help him understand it. This isn't just a gate, Elena said. It's a lock. Whatever's inside, whatever it's holding, was never meant to be free. Jack turned back toward his crew. We're getting closer. Bring us to. The proximity alarms blared. Multiple contacts. Sarah snapped, hands flying over controls. Vector 38/7. Closing fast. Jack spun toward the tactical display and saw 3 vessels dropping out of FTL in perfect formation. They were sleek, angular ships, their hulls glinting silver-black under the distant starlight. No known transponders. No markings except for a strange sigil carved into their flanks like a spiral wrapped around a broken circle. Not Council, Sarah said, voice rising. No, Jack agreed. Not anyone we've ever seen. One of the ships broadcast a message. The Resolute's AI caught it, translated it, and pushed it through the speakers in a voice like grinding stone. Leave this place. It is not for you. This is the last warning. The bridge fell silent. Elena stepped forward. Jack, they're not hostile yet. We can try to communicate. Find out what this gate is. Jack's eyes stayed on the viewport, on the ships that now circled them like wolves. Or, he said, we can take their warning as confirmation that we're exactly where we're supposed to be. The alien ships powered their weapons. Shields up. Jack barked. The Resolute's energy field flared into existence, rippling faintly across the hull. The aliens moved closer, weapons glowing with dangerous light. They're not bluffing, Sarah said. They never are, Jack replied grimly. Evasive pattern Sigma. Let's see how fast these bastards really are. The void exploded into light. The first shot from the alien lead ship hammered into the Resolute's shields, sending a tremor through the deck. Shields holding, the tactical officer called, but not for long. Return fire. Jack shouted. The Resolute's forward railgun spat tungsten slugs into the dark, the shots slamming into the nearest enemy vessel. Its shields flared brilliant white, then buckled, the ship spinning out of formation trailing debris. 2 left. Sarah called. Coming around. The Resolute rolled hard, narrowly avoiding a beam that would have sliced its dorsal fins clean off. Counterfire lanced out, striking one attacker squarely amidships and tearing a glowing hole through its hull. The alien ship vented atmosphere in a long, silent scream before detonating in a burst of white fire. Elena gripped the back of her chair, heart pounding. This wasn't supposed to be a battle, it was supposed to be an investigation. And then she saw it. The gate. The black heart of it pulsed, faint at first, then brighter. With every shot fired, every ship destroyed, it seemed to wake a little more. Jack, she shouted over the chaos. It's reacting to the fight. Jack's eyes flicked toward the display and widened. The center of the threshold shimmered, twisted, then flared with a light so bright it cut across the battlefield like a blade. Everything stopped. Weapons fell silent. The surviving alien ship drifted, its weapons cooling. The Resolute floated motionless, its crew frozen by the sight ahead. The gate had opened. A great wound tore across space, spilling light that wasn't light. Inside, for just a moment, they saw impossible shapes, colossal machines, broken stars, the bones of things too big to be alive. And then, with a pull like the gravity of a collapsing sun, the Resolute was dragged forward, past the shattered ring, through the shimmering black. Into the unknown. For a moment, there was no sound. No motion. The Resolute hung weightless, adrift in a place that was not space. The stars were gone. There was no horizon, no sense of up or down, only a vast, endless darkness lit by the faint glow of ancient wreckage scattered all around them. "Status report," Commander Jack Reynolds said quietly, as though speaking too loudly might break whatever fragile reality they had entered. "Systems online," Sarah Monroe replied, though her voice trembled. "Shields are stable, drives are responsive. I think. But I have no idea where we are. This doesn't match any charted starfield." Jack's gaze swept the viewscreen. Hulks of derelict ships drifted in slow, eternal orbits, their shattered hulls silhouetted by a faint, otherworldly glow. Some were small enough to be fighters. Others were titanic vessels, miles-long dreadnoughts from civilizations long gone. Dr. Elena Vasquez pressed closer to the glass, her breath fogging the viewport. Her heart pounded. "This isn't debris," she whispered. "It's a collection. A museum. No, a vault." Jack's jaw tightened. "Of what?" Her eyes shone, wide and fearful. "Everything. Every war machine ever built. Every weapon ever buried. Every mistake." The ship's sensors pinged, drawing their attention to the center of this vast graveyard. There it was. A single sphere floated in the void, so black it seemed to drink the light around it. It was massive, bigger than the Resolute by orders of magnitude, but perfectly smooth, featureless. And it pulsed, faintly, like a heart. Jack felt a chill crawl up his spine. He had been in war zones, seen horrors no man should see, but this felt different. This felt alive. "Bring us closer," he said. "Sir," Sarah protested, "we don't know what it is." "That's exactly why we're going," Jack snapped. The Resolute crept forward, thrusters firing in tiny bursts. The black sphere grew until it filled the viewport. And then it spoke. Not through speakers. Not through the ship's systems. The voice simply appeared in their minds, vast and resonant, like a storm rolling across the plains. "Who enters the threshold unbidden?" Elena's knees nearly gave out. She gripped the console to steady herself. "It's telepathic." Jack straightened in his chair. "We are explorers. Humans. We came seeking answers." There was a pause, and then the voice rumbled again. "You are late. Others came first. They sought the weapon. They sought to rule." Images exploded in their minds, flickering visions of star systems burning, fleets tearing each other apart, civilizations reduced to dust. It was too much, too fast. Sarah gasped, clutching her head. Jack gritted his teeth, forcing himself to stand firm as the visions came and went. "What weapon?" he demanded. "The last gift of the Makers," the voice said, echoing like thunder across eternity. "A thought that can burn 1,000 worlds. A fire that cannot be quenched. It sleeps here. I keep it sleeping." Elena's breath caught. "A planet killer," she whispered. "No, more than that. A civilization killer." Jack's gaze darkened. "Why show us this? Why not let us leave?" "Because you have been measured," the voice said. "You have the choice the others refused. Take the knowledge, and claim the weapon for your kind. Or seal it, as the Makers intended, and let the galaxy live." The alien ships were there again. The ones that had attacked them before. They appeared silently, surrounding the Resolute like sentinels. But they did not fire. They simply waited, their weapons cold. Sarah's hands hovered over the controls. "They're not threatening us," she said carefully. "It's like, they want to see what we'll do." Elena turned to Jack, her voice urgent. "Jack, listen to me, if this ever gets out, if the Council learns what's here." "They'll kill for it," Jack finished grimly. "Not just kill," Elena said. "They'll fight wars over it. Endless wars. And whoever wins will have the power to wipe out everything else. The galaxy won't survive it." The bridge was silent except for the faint hum of the ship. Jack stared at the sphere, at the pulsing black heart that promised ultimate victory or ultimate extinction. Part of him, the soldier part, wanted to seize it. To make sure humanity was never again at the mercy of alien councils, alien fleets, alien powers who saw Earth as a backwater. But another part of him, the man who had seen cities burn, who had written letters to families of the dead, knew what would happen next. His hand curled into a fist. "Seal it," he said finally, his voice low but unyielding. The sphere pulsed once, as if an acknowledgement. So be it. Light exploded across the void, blinding them. The wreckage, the sphere, the alien ships all dissolved into nothing as the threshold began to collapse in on itself. Gravitational wave spike. Sarah shouted. "We're being thrown out." "Hold her steady." Jack barked. The Resolute shuddered violently as reality twisted. Then, with a final blinding flash, they were back in normal space. The gate was gone. Nothing but cold, empty stars remained. The bridge was silent. Sarah slowly lowered her hands from the controls. "Did we just destroy it?" "No," Elena said quietly. "We just locked it. Forever. No one will ever open it again." Jack stood slowly, letting out a long breath. His crew watched him, waiting for his order. "This doesn't leave this ship," he said at last. "Not to Earth. Not to the Council. Not to anyone." Sarah nodded, relief washing over her features. Elena, though, lingered by the viewport, staring at the empty space where the threshold had been. She felt no relief, only awe and a strange, aching sorrow. "Some secrets," she murmured, "are too big for any civilization." Jack heard her, but said nothing. He turned back to the helm. "Set course for Vega 9. We're going home." As the Resolute's engines flared and the stars stretched into streaks of light, Jack leaned back in the captain's chair, staring into the void ahead. Humanity still stood at the edge of the map. Still small, still underestimated. But now they carried a burden no other species would ever know. And somewhere, in the depths of the galaxy, a sleeping weapon remained, silent, waiting, dreaming of fire.